again are grateful right now, and we after this conversation with you that are following you here on Clubhouse, make sure that you're sharing the video out. As many of us deal with a narcissist or tendencies, which there is a difference. So it's really super important. We all have to learn how to recognize and deal with. So again, we encourage you to invite people. And if you're not on Clubhouse, sorry, I hope that the sound was coming in a little closer. Hopefully that's better. So invite some people into this room. If you're on this video, bring some people into this. How we can truly change the life by giving them perspectives, giving them hope, and giving them tips and strategies to start how to deal with different things in your own genius and living your life chance. And that's what we do here every Friday. And today, of course, we have the great Lone here with us as well. Thank you again for being here. Let's get this conversation going. Not only did, of course.
Let me grab back to my breathing over there, Tony. Hang on. From where I want to be able to bring came through the week because I want I'm reading every that you guys have lead, whether they come to email, so I hear you, heard, and absolutely recognize. I want to address off the top. Tara is there; she may be able to jump in. My role is to help you. You can do in order to move through, or suggesting a through or in response, and all of I absolutely do. First, we just state for the record, and I understand how it is with somebody who enters your world, stories from the inside out. I got it. My view, as much as I would love to be able in the experience and the emotion to help you, my role and get you out of where in the most painless when you're dealing with narcissism, the tendency or an actual narcissist. There is no promise I can make people. That would be a bold one of those things that trans and who you're going to become. As if one day you're going to get as if it never happened. I don't believe it through us, and it moves a version of us and oftentimes passion. So I am not saying goes away, and the experience is to be able to also touch on there's a huge healing process that's through. But in all pain, narcissism or not, all pain, time, energy, effort, what we call it 5 areas of focus, you'll through it. But here is that to be some event, the pain, and you're going to remember you were. That is an untruth. It is a process of grieving through the experience because you're too pain. Not better or it transforms us. Life that exists with we had a life that exists without very, very different relationships. I want you first and foremost to know you heard, and we are around with the different geniuses that we have a team to be able to lend as the front dog is you, where something is, and see where it is serving you, way, shape, or form, and where you, from where you say you actually, and toss you to some of the other releasing and some healing. But I don't know if she's really there or not. Has the experience, love, and heal a narcissist leads, in my humble opinion, I think that Angel, like the healing work that she does for so, as she survived through to a higher part of energy, didn't know her prior to violence. So that may be the story that I tell them. And so there is a lot of beauty from pain to put the mindset from them. I would like you to, of pain, to be something that is even more beautiful. Not saying that it's not, pain is not what I'm saying. I'm being misunderstood. It is real. I've got a bowl that I can, cry our eyes out over. But that a version of Amilya on anybody else? Absolutely not. I don't experience on anybody else. Right, the incredible individual that you were bantering as well. There's all experiences, and I think this is an opportunity of answers. But more importantly, they give them the app. So with that, I'm going to take a breath. I want to hear in the chat. Tara, if you chime in your beauty, some of the painful conversations that are going on.
Thank you. Somebody who didn't catch that replay, I have to say, the best rooms I've ever been in was Wednesday, right? Sally, correct me if I'm wrong. Was Tony,
Tuesday.
You were there too.
Yeah.
It was almost. So we received a lot of DMs, and so I'm so glad that people are hurting and they don't know how to get out of struggles. So I encourage you guys to be comfortable coming on stage, but you really, Amilya is definitely the first. My DMs are open while she carries to ask a question and not in the chat or speaking up. Just send it over to her. Try not to send it to her who's like overloaded, or Tony or any of the G100. Amilya, I absolutely agree. It's still painful sometimes because lost a lot of my I am super grateful for it, but it has allowed me the opportunity to people through that journey because it is lasting, it is debilitating. Look at myself in the mirror, I don't even know who I was. And so I encourage you all to and I'm looking forward to this conversation. It's like the bomb. It was incredible.
Let me just say, if you're on social media, you can also post your question to my screen, and I will pass them along. Throw that in as well. So back up.
Thank you. So first of all, let's address the putting a question between an actual narcissist tendency. A narcissist is really far several reasons. First and foremost, a narcissist doesn't think there's anything wrong with it. It's clinically diagnosed. Right, for that. We don't have a lot of information. That bucketing, really a willingness to want to do anything. All of us have the problem. Not diagnosed. We don't have a lot of data. We do know about narcissism. It's birth defect or disease. Actually, something missing in this brain. So easy on this, if you're not familiar, and I don't know too much, is that part of the things that is that we are wired our sympathetic nerves, right? Right, to be sympathetic and others. It's part of what when you do not right and or you do not flee, what comes you have no ability to empathize anyone else. You become eccentric because the only mind is me, myself, whatever somebody else needs, whatever, you just don't compassion, sympathy for that being on a dead zone. That is why my number one, we've gone through this many times with you, is it the person is a narcissistic, clinical, or has the behaviors and tendencies. It doesn't matter what's going on. What happens is you are being, so the first step to stop, you're going to fix it, change it. You cannot. No power outside of you. None. There's no difference than some, as much as we want to love them, we have no power when we see, right? Who is an agony. Next obvious step is, and not clear to them. Be supportive. We can't act for them. For those people, that many times do we want to jump in or help them do it for them? So first and foremost is what is rooted within you, somebody else's work to do. Power is no matter what is, there is always something to be doing differently. Always. One the time as your behavior is 100% conviction, there is a like. Now, what to do to read? Because when we are living or the stories that have happened to us, story and cannot see the that's where I come in. There's a different possibilities works right for you. I'm going to see if there's any questions to make sure that we are understanding the tendencies and narcissist conversation is not to fix them, to move us through.
Well, that's great. And, to how to handle them, right? Because sometimes it could be a parent, it could be a child, so not necessarily of your life. So what's the best way to them while we wait for?
Well, I would first and foremost to that I cannot remove some belief in that. I hold no weight and choice in anything between. You have the choice to absolute your life, even if they happen to be somebody or your family member or child. Always, because here's what we know for a fact: just because does not mean that they get a free ticket to the town. They don't. Fail or out of like years of development, and I would say you're somewhere around 8. Once you receive your life to there, right? Once you then in a living by what your minimum, start living by your choices, taking the responsibility of those. You are then coming. There is somebody in your life that benefits beneficial for you, not going where you want to go, and you know. Now, this is where there's a every time I have to be able to say, if you are independent and responsible, then there's a different where 100% out on you design your life for you. You must have a relation because your family. They don't get right. You have to live based on your absolutely have had periods of where I was no closely in it and saying they had work to do. Love them more. It's not a trade. You into recovery. You can't love right. And so removal sometimes, not all, the wake up call that they actually need. So let's release from the fact that people who automatically get you like shit. No, they do not. On your minimum, and you have to define what those whole type to them. You can your minimum base. It is all or not. Or you don't live by your values. You try to tell me I cheat at the life. That's bullshit. You cheat because you have cheating in your head. You cheat that says under these days poorly. That same people go happen to Vegas goes in Vegas. Like a Muslim, you have tendencies to act like you justify the story, being purposeful, saying this is who I am, this is how I want to show. For me to show up as the best Amilya, minimum in relationship with me, and I use them as rings. I have as a ring. I have a ring of circles that live benchmark to get close. Loosen them up a little bit, and the next ring, and then I loosen them up, and then I show up and treat me, dictate your relationship with me, not me. Dictate how close to the ring. So I have to have that clarity. Toxicity or your development is going to take and nothing is going to be who I want to be and my purpose to be. And that's the baseline of this conversation. Why for you is what happens their massive ego or comes in and for you, right? What is happening? What can you do? What learning and the growth that is happening? I can explain their side all day long for you. What I'd like to do is your side, so that you've got a lot of people here on stage come through. Now we all come through them differently. The tools from the helpful for somebody here. Let me boundary and guideline into the through. One of my world is I do not speak advice. I have no idea what you would do in that advice. What I'd like you to do is to speak from my experience. This is what I saw, right? Hindsight is 2020. This is what I saw. This is what I know from the experience. Speaking from your experience, your value to the listeners. If I'm going to cut you off because of bias.
I love that. I think comments from say that, you're right. I asked that question because so many people, you know, narcissism in your life. It's like you've got to just take in low doses. You can go X-ray; it's not going to kill you. But if you stand around, same thing with negative people. If you don't want to, because I agree with you, if you don't want to cut them off completely, just limit, because the longer you're around them, the more time. A couple of things that in the chat right now, Vanessa said, and then she married one. In these relationships, right? I agree with you completely that we're always going to treat us based on what we do, say, or act, and already have narcissistic tendencies because you've given them permission, or because you stay or you allow. So for the people that are still in it, what your
Tony, let's start that first part. Is so in the healing journey. Okay, and so I don't knowledge nugget. He's a narcissist, and then I married a narcissist. Here, right, and so any healing process, what people need more than anything, witness. If a contributor to being goes so far, the dialogue of fault and evidence and validating is true, right? When somebody can, a pain point to do is to stop, to witness. Don't have to understand the pain to find the pain. You don't other than stop and understanding. So for me, of being raised by choosing a mate to make perfect sense. Perfect sense. Because we do both. Right? So now the pain must be enormous. Once you start to see, how I possibly have done that? Oh my God. And that's that self of self, which is actually, it was already hurtful in the reflection backwards, right? Prison for life. We punish ourselves.
So
we're supposed to know better. How responsibly are we to know better than things? So first and foremost, a huge hug. You're doing just fine, and you're growing. It'd be more than amazing.
Actually, a narcissist, Amilya, hang on. I just went to what is known and what I thought was normal, normal it was. Because I don't know. I'm sorry if I missed at the very bottom. Scroll to the bottom. He has a question.
Welcome him in. Hello.
Hello, everybody.
welcome.
No, actually, that was not extra trying to ask, like, one believe in that transform our pain into tension. Believe in that, like, it can be to tension.
Yeah, your response to anything, whether it's good or response to anything, can transform. And what we're talking about, everything is energy. Response is energy, and any that's practice. That's an act. It is a up because step one, right? So there's AWA, then will, and why is so important is just jump to and we react out the awareness, because remember, what you think is never what is happening. Right? You can go see the same movie, entirely different experience. What is not what's happening for us to remove from that thinking. You think that others is what's happening is your ego, and that's trying to protect. That's why it's there to protect you, because the ego will assure you that and you are strong, and your ego. Now, there's some great things about that, not so good things about that. Come into awareness and what is happening for me right now. What is happening out in the other people? Know what's happening for kids to learn. We call them whatever you'd like to call them. Fact find what is happening. So in one of the statements, when something is intense going on, right, where you're able to push back, pull in. It seems like you're you seem to be unique to me right now. My default position, which is what we normally do, is to flip your side of it on hold. You think is happening, and that other person thinks is oftentimes when you understand is happening, you immediately use the conflict to say, well, that's not what I think. Have only have the skill set. All they learn is how to react. How to they spend their entire journey of acting to what happens as your behavior to you is to take word and to act to anything outside, to say the course time for you is the entire intention. Genius was to teach you that. Now, as you traveled journey, all outside will as you change. Is that?
I love it. I love it absolutely. By this, because this is a comment that was by Tarika Simmons. She says, "I don't know. I get so much great stuff from things she makes. Hope she never retires to be up Schitt's Creek." Great, thank you, Tarika, for that. And one of the hour, so I'm going to do a quick room reset. Being here, we have a great room. This 188 people, 244. We encourage you, of course, to continue light up that algorithm here on Clubhouse with us. Hit a little, say something nice about the rooms, something that you or gotten from people that you know could and should be here. They're dealing with the narcissist. Maybe they can learn to also recognize, work on that improvement, because and of course, if you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, make it go viral. Of course, Amilya with us today, so you're stuck with just you still hear Amilya coming to the microphone, and we are grateful everything that's being shared here. We all, like I said, deal earlier on in the chat says why are today's society, and that's because people are self-centered and kind of pulling. We're just in that time. So speak to as well, Amilya, the conversation, and again, so much. I agree with you. Should be here. So let's be part of that conversation. Let's crack this room over 100. Let's see if we can do it and reach the more of an impact in the world. So with that,
so let me answer that on. We are in a moment of uncertainty in my adult life. We in massive changing of the guard of power, the rise of the remote worker, to relate and build our communities. Everything has changed in uncertainty. Hold tighter. Feeling is the death wipe that everybody has gotten on. So now, in the you have to realize what you're actually holding tight to the story that got you here today. To believe something, to get and in holding tight to the works for us, and some of these things have not. The crisis, right? And third, in crisis management, people hold because they believe that if tight too, if any of it true, the house of cards, so nobody's going to lean in to fall apart. Right? They're not going to do that. And so what you're feeling right now is fear. It's going to get worse. What if I'm going to lose my job? What if I'm going to lose my kids? What if I'm going to lose my income? What society is right now is in loss and fear. Understanding that through even simple moments, you are navigating through the negativity creates energy. So bumps against negative energy creates. So you are a being right so tight, tightening in on me through negativity, negative belief system of every day. And so you're trying to fight this little light of mine and survive through. Does that help anybody?
Question, Amilya.
Go for
it. I think it's John. I have to heart. If you want to unmic.
Good day, everyone. Thank you for question aloud. I put it in the bag and responded to, but ask it. I was just, if there is specific way to communicate with the person of a narcissist, a vulnerable narcissistic type. I asked that is because I was vulnerable type. If have just what my system is as a I guess with a person, not romantic, people in general, as far as my comprehension of when they are as far as the vulnerability in from child, if that's just a momentary, excuse me, and if acting within when dealing with people, like, or is it that a person such as myself would have to deal with communicating with the person that you feel had narcissistic tendencies?
Excellent question. And so what you have to feel, right? Not like loving people are, that you are trained on how to them in your world. Maybe they're really kind, or maybe they think I'm going to give them some leeway and stuff, which is all part. But my question serving there is this: with all of the energy in order just to get to a relationship, right? You have to climb up to get to neutral serving you. Because if I value you, why would you? Does it mean to not love people as I love you and not choose because I have big work, a lot of energy, just neutral, so that we can other, right? And so that's when you talk about the step one, which is ask yourself in your most connected time when you can hear yourself and your high and calling that person. Can you value your life and don't like them or not? See, that's the ego. When I love this person, when I this person, that is confusing you. What I would, how do I see the presence of somebody, the care and the like, right? I feel around this person yourself how much you love somebody. You can't do anything else. External is what you have to. So in this ritual, ask yourself, leave you feeling. What is the value? Maybe it is time, kindly energy from them. Move your energy.
That is so. I'm sorry.
Is it okay for me because?
Yes, I want to know how you're feeling when I say that.
Well, because that's essentially what it ultimately I had to do. It was not that I didn't the wrongness in some of it, but when communicating with them, and I know 100% that I do perfect, but I know I am not actions towards someone where I've dealt with people the type of trait, and I'm not sure, but they're being done on my end, and I'm not anything. It's just that pretty certain that I experience the persons who leave and receiving any. Trust me, I have get the feeling that sometimes with persons and they'll say, "Oh well, you need to look to have all these kind of people," and I'm like, well, I assume that it is on to my actions.
Hang on.
Yes, ma'am.
From a different point of view.
Oh.
What you could be doing
Okay.
beautiful. If it doesn't, okay.
Okay.
What I'm here, correct me if I'm wrong. What I'm
Yes, sir.
you pointing out for others how they are not showing up for whatever it is that you're showing you were there help versus ending things to say, hey, I really enjoyed our time. I'm thinking for myself right now. Back. When you correct criticism, you're creating to attract more people versus disconnecting. I'm not going to give you. I'm not right. I'm not going to tell you all the work from your side. I mean, please from you to stay no longer works for me. When I'm not going to work from you anymore, you of energy.
Wow, that I have to think about for quite some and try to
feel right to you. But I don't want you to use your mind, use your internal compass. Yourself with whoever he's saying, I wish I'm going to choose myself right time to do some things differently. To pull in yourself and this instead of trying to fix the energy.
Okay. That is great. And that you used before, I know repeatedly is AWA action. But what was the words in it that came, if you don't mind?
I don't know what I was saying, but it was designing genius. Designing genius through this entire process. What will work for you is the pattern that you have. But I'm sure I said something, and I start.
Okay. Thank you. I was wondering if behavior can that be called bipolar, the positive and negative feelings of inferior and being superior, mistaken and such.
I invite you to release from that. No matter why.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if they're bipolar. It's of trying to understand that you're starving yourself energy towards you. Who gives? Oh, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work for me. That's their problem when they have no people around you to do differently. What you need to do differently is trying to figure out what's wrong with everybody, starving your soul. You.
Right.
You need. That won't work for me. Doesn't matter.
Thank you so much. The program that you have, the is that I'm interested.
Designing genius is a whole community to design their life for them, the behavioral tools that they stop doing and swap out. So there's a whole bunch of people all have different geniuses, and we come together into one behavior for good. We got a lot of work, a lot of negativity, but together.
Thank you so much.
But yes, it is going through a course and creating a blueprint to check it out.
If I can encourage you to tell you just my experience with it, if it will help you look deeper Amelia's talking to you about centralize and be able to focus than how you've been focused to people. But definitely
Right.
do that course.
I'm going to sign up. I just think, and I appreciate it, said it as such because I was evaluating, but now I see the shift that for as the way in which it is that asking why in my mind, not doing the how. I don't really know Amilya. Amilya.
Please welcome here. We're here. We're here for you. Are wanted. This is a safe place.
Thank you.
Yeah, just jump in here for a second. I just put it in. We need to have courage, and the table and respect is no longer being said. Going back to what we were talking about earlier, is that people have how to treat us, and so have enough. And I know that's been done, but trust me, you will be sure, and that's where the healing begins. And you say no more, and away, and figure out if that's what it takes. But those people, because again, the toxicity life and keep you from growing. You grew up with a father, like, let me tell you, my father, narcissist. Well, I'm here to tell you, my father, this is an intimate conversation for enough courage to stand up for yourself. You have to, but get out.
I got another really good question here because again, I just really love people. You guys give me my big single day. So the first thing you're teaching people to be egocentric, selfish. No, I am not. And then just give me grace. You energy that you create, you move through the world. Everyone, you can dial within yourself, and point purpose and intention in the world. And you control how that vibration. Every relationship. So I'm not teaching you to be. I'm teaching you to be responsible. You put off. Responsible for your energy. Other people have to spend out. So I'm opposite you. I-centric. I'm universal law that we all, everyone, and every mental law of nature, all things matter, and the best way to respect you, responsible for the energy you.
If I can speak to that. Go ahead.
Hang on, I wanted her practice, her work, and all in this energy. I Sarah, what I need to release that is causing a bad rest. So Tara, you just want to kind of speak back that is you're trying to teach people. No, that's not what we're doing here. Right here, you loud and clear. I know that time together, but I know exactly what you're doing. From self, and we on the way. So I do a lot of quantum. Those low vibrating energy. Ego is not going to lead you to inner peace, flow. You're not going to be able to achieve dreams and ambitions through your ego. All of that in a higher frequency awareness and attunement and alignment. And for the speaker that was here, she's in a state, and you're in a state of suffering and struggle. So I can speak to this from experience again.
when you're in stages, it's sort of the lowest. I think the low shame is to actually measure. There's studies on it. 3 to 75. Anger is 150. Which is linked to ego. Is 170 into the trance-centered stage, the higher consciousness, which attitude 540, 5. And so when you're vibrating, you invite that energy into your journey based off your, and they lead as well. And so you need to people that are higher vibrations. Have you ever gone into a restaurant and feel the energy of the room? It's like buy something, you're like, yeah, great. And are the people that you want to align your challenge you? People who stop reading books and what you actually have them within your vibration. I hope that helps a little. Yeah,
trying to get her to focus. How do in response to you, and you are correct. The before days. So the good and bad outcome, good intention of other people, why they're doing wrong. That's called putting your state of a low. It's not even landing on the other side. Right? Comparing, right? Leads to shame. You're on the wrong thing. What I'm trying to do is when you are understand what the right next thing, can you consider that? Stop other people and start your response to things. So how does that feel? Finding genius. You're finding out what you need. What are those ingredients? How do you communicate those? Maybe you communicate those things to others. Well, that doesn't feel good. That's away from that things that feel really, really yummy towards it. You don't necessarily need to understand. It doesn't matter why. That feels word. That doesn't feel good. Then in your self-reflection at what the pattern is and further away from the goal. Your thinking plan before your tactic must come first. Everybody's trying to do tactics without understanding the emotional journey. What do I of and what no thought. It worked for me before, now. And so the mind must come together. That's what we call it. You don't understand how people maneuver peace and flesh. You don't know how to build yourself in order to get a little complicated, but we broke it.
If I can just
turn things over.
Yeah, I'm just going to make a comment triggered by the word ego, and so many people are talking about kill. Your ego is not your enemy. You drive the bus, but your ego is important to get. Sometimes your ego is important to help you to get out of whatever dangerous. So it's not from ego, but also may have a healthy ego as well, because I think that's a big mistake. Again, we have the amazing David, Amilya, and Randy, and I will back this morning. So make sure that David Meltzer, and of course come back in time.
Tony, may I see?
Yes.
Get everybody.
I was about to say that.
Amilya and Tony and the crew. There's stuff there. You, Tony. I'm sorry. was like, boom.
That's exactly where I was going. Make the top of the page. Join Designing Genius because my friends signed, not by chance. So with that said, to then hand off to the one and only Devin. Everyone for being here. We appreciate you.
And please know that you see up here on stage. We come here in love. We live here. We truly made you through. We are out of pain right now. This is beautiful lineup. We take the 9 o'clock over to the amazing Mr. Mel Mike back at 11. And a place for you to heal and most of all to be loved. Being here, I truly appreciate it. Miss Amazing mentors, I'm going to be handing.
Oh, you're too kind. Thank you. I want to wish everybody a. I also want to give a shout out to my 25th